There is a number doctors don't say out loud very often. Somewhere between 3 and 43% of older adults are walking around with a hidden deficiency right now. Not because they eat badly, not because they skip meals. Many of them eat perfectly healthy diets, and they still have it. That's the part that should bother you. Because if eating well isn't enough to protect you, what is? I'm Dr. Michael, and in almost every appointment I have with someone over 50, this exact topic comes up. Not once, not twice, almost every single time. And what surprises people most isn't the list of vitamins. It's how quietly this problem builds, and how normal it feels until it doesn't. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly which nutrients doctors are quietly watching after age 50, why your body stops playing by the old rules, and what question you should be asking at your very next appointment. Here's the first thing almost nobody tells you. Getting older doesn't just change how much of a vitamin you need, it changes how well your body can even use it. You could eat the exact same meals you ate at 40, same vegetables, same protein, same healthy plate you've been proud of for years, and still come up short. Because somewhere along the way, your stomach starts absorbing certain nutrients differently, quietly, without any warning sign, until there is one. And that's the trap. Most people think a deficiency will announce itself, a dramatic symptom, a clear signal, but it usually doesn't work that way. It creeps in, a little tiredness here, a little forgetfulness there. Things you explain away because, well, you're getting older, right? Except sometimes, that explanation is wrong. Let's start with the one I check first, and the one people misunderstand the most. Vitamin B12. This one keeps your red blood cells alive, and your nerves working the way they should. And here's the twist almost nobody expects. Older adults don't actually need more of it than anyone else. The amount your body requires barely changes with age, so if the amount doesn't change, what does? The absorption does. Something in the way your body breaks down food starts working against you as the years go on. The vitamin might be sitting right there on your plate. Your body just struggles to pull it out and use it the way it used to. So, what does a hidden B12 deficiency actually look like in real life? It doesn't scream at you. It whispers, tingling in your hands, a little numbness in your feet, like they fell asleep and never fully woke up. Some balance issues you write off as clumsiness or getting older. Trouble remembering small things, names, why you walked into a room. Even a low mood that seems to have no clear cause, or confusion that feels like it came out of nowhere. Now here's the part that should really make you pause. Some of those exact symptoms get mistaken for something much more serious. Something people fear far more than a vitamin problem. Memory issues, nerve problems, balance changes. All of it can look, on the surface, like something much bigger than it actually is. And in some cases, it's just B12. Just. As if that word belongs there. It doesn't, not really, because an untreated B12 deficiency isn't harmless. Left alone, it can lead to anemia. It can damage nerves in ways that are harder to reverse the longer it goes unchecked. But here's the hopeful part I want you to hold on to. It's also one of the easiest things in this entire list to catch and correct, once someone actually thinks to look for it. That's the whole issue in one sentence. Once someone thinks to look for it. There's another group that needs to hear this part, especially closely. If you eat a mostly plant-based diet, or you've cut back heavily on meat, eggs, and dairy over the years, your risk climbs even higher. Natural food sources of B12 are almost entirely animal-based. That doesn't mean a plant-focused diet is wrong. It just means this is one area where extra attention matters more, not less. So, what do you actually do with this information? You ask. A simple blood test. Nothing dramatic, nothing invasive. It's one of those quiet 5-minute conversations that can completely change what happens next. It can rule out a scare, or it can catch something early enough to fix it before it becomes something bigger. Now, let's talk about the one almost everyone assumes they're fine on. Vitamin D. Most people in the United States don't get enough of it. Not most sick people. Not most people with poor diets. Most people, period. It doesn't matter how healthy your plate looks if the nutrient itself simply isn't showing up on it in meaningful amounts. And sunlight exposure isn't reliably filling that gap either, especially as we get older and spend less time outside than we used to. Here's why this one matters more than people assume. Vitamin D doesn't work alone. It has a partner, and that partner is calcium. Think of it like this. calcium is the material. Vitamin D is what lets your body actually use that material where it's needed. Without enough vitamin D, calcium can't do its job properly, no matter how much of it you're taking in. And the job calcium and vitamin D do together is bigger than most people realize. It's not just about strong bones, as some abstract idea. It's about whether a bone survives a fall instead of breaking from one. It's about whether a small stumble in the kitchen turns into a bruise, or turns into a fracture that changes the next 6 months of someone's life. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to make this feel real, because for a lot of people, it doesn't feel real until it happens to them or someone they love. Here are the numbers, because specifics matter more than vague advice. If you're under 71, your body generally needs about 600 IU of vitamin D a day. Cross that age line into 71 and beyond, and that number climbs to 800 of IU. Most people have absolutely no idea which number applies to them, let alone whether they're anywhere close to it. And this is where I want to gently push back on something people assume. More is not automatically better. With certain nutrients, more isn't a bonus, it's a risk. Your body has a range where things work well, and pushing far outside that range in either direction can cause problems instead of solving them. This is exactly why guessing at a supplement aisle isn't the same as knowing your actual numbers. Now, calcium on its own deserves its own moment here, because it's the nutrient everyone thinks they understand and almost nobody actually tracks. Calcium keeps bones strong at every age, not just in older adulthood, but the stakes change significantly as you get older, because bone loss that happens quietly over years suddenly matters enormously the moment a fall happens, and falls become more common, not less, as time goes on. Good food sources exist: milk and dairy products, canned fish with soft, edible bones, dark leafy greens, fortified cereals. But again, remember the partnership. Calcium without enough vitamin D is only doing half its job. There's a myth I need to break right here, because it trips up even health-conscious people who think they're doing everything right. The myth is this: if a little bit of a supplement is good, a lot must be even better. That's not how this works. With some nutrients, doctors have to walk a careful line, because too much calcium in supplement form specifically has been linked to risks that outweigh the benefit for certain people. It's not the more the better. It's the right amount for your specific body, at your specific age, with your specific health history. That's not something a bottle on a pharmacy shelf can calculate for you. Only a blood test, a real conversation, and someone who knows your full picture can get you there. There's one more nutrient that flies almost completely under the radar, and I want to bring it into the light, because it deserves more attention than it usually gets. Vitamin B6. After 50, your body simply stops absorbing B6 as efficiently as it used to, in much the same quiet way it struggles with B12. And on top of that absorption challenge, most people's diets are already a little light on B6 to begin with, even before age becomes a factor. B6 plays a role in your immune system and in forming healthy red blood cells. It's not usually the headline nutrient in a conversation like this one. It doesn't get the same attention that vitamin D or B12 gets. But it's on the list doctors think about for a reason, and it's exactly the kind of thing that gets missed simply because nobody brings it up. So here's what I want you to sit with for a second, because this is the part that ties everything together. There's a quiet assumption a lot of people carry into their 50s and 60s. I eat well, so I'm fine. And for a lot of things, that assumption holds up just fine. But for these specific nutrients, eating well is only half of the equation. The other half is whether your body can actually absorb and use what you're feeding it. And that second half doesn't show up on a dinner plate. It shows up in a blood test. That's not something you can guess your way through. It's not something a multivitamin from the pharmacy shelf can promise you either, no matter how confident the label sounds. In fact, here's something that might surprise you. For a genuinely healthy older adult with a solid diet, plenty of doctors, myself included, won't automatically recommend a daily supplement at all. Taking something you don't actually need isn't harmless just because it comes in a bottle labeled natural. Some supplements interact with medications you might already be taking. Some raise your risk of bleeding, which matters enormously if you ever need surgery or have an injury. Some aren't regulated with anywhere near the strictness you'd assume, given how confidently they're marketed. Natural is not the same word as safe for everyone, at every dose, in every situation. That distinction matters more the older you get, simply because most people are managing more medications and more health conditions than they were at 30. This is exactly why the right move isn't walking into a pharmacy and grabbing whatever multivitamin has the most convincing packaging. The right move is a conversation, a blood test, a doctor or a registered dietitian who can actually look at your numbers, your diet, your medications, and your history and tell you specifically what you need, if anything at all. Let's bring this back to that number I opened with, 3 to 43%. That's an enormous range, and I want to be honest with you about why. It's wide because it depends heavily on who's being studied, their age, their health conditions, their diet. But even at the low end of that range, it means a meaningful number of older adults are dealing with a B12 deficiency they don't know about. At the high end, it means it could be a significant portion of the people in this exact stage of life. Somewhere in that range could be you, or it could be someone sitting across the table from you at dinner tonight. Someone you talk to every week and have no reason to suspect is dealing with anything at all, because on the outside, everything looks completely normal. The only way to know for sure isn't a guess, and it isn't a supplement aisle, and it definitely isn't waiting until symptoms get bad enough to be undeniable. It's one conversation and one blood test away. I want to leave you with something practical, not just something to think about. The next time you have an appointment, whether it's a routine checkup or something you're already going in for, ask specifically about these 4 things. Ask about your vitamin D level. Ask about your B12. Ask whether your calcium intake is actually being paired properly with enough vitamin D to make a difference. And ask about B6, especially if nobody has brought it up before, because in my experience, almost nobody does unless you ask first. You don't need to walk in and diagnose yourself. You don't need to come in with a list of supplements you think you should be taking. You just need to ask the question and let a blood test tell the real story instead of a guess, a rumor, or a supplement label telling it for you. So the real question isn't which vitamin you should start taking tomorrow. It's this: when was the last time you actually asked?